Hello, everyone. Welcome to Allianz Joy. Everyone, it's very welcome on the Win-Win Women TV. I'm very glad to be with you today, and I'm excited that you are here. And I want to share some things with you that might sound familiar. I have today's show that is called it's playful, being with words, important words, playing with C's and playing with T's, right? And it helped me always, if I do that, to remember things that are really important in life. And I want to share some of those playful things that I do in my work with you today. Have you ever been in those situations that you just don't see it anymore and you just don't see a way out, or you just need to take some time out and rethink what you were thinking and rethink what you were doing? Then these words will always help you. I love to have little hooks that help me in my work and just in life and with myself to kind of sit down and say, oh, yes. Now, if I remember those words, then I can actually do something with it and I can apply it. And we really do make changes in life if we start feeling the change and if we can apply the change, right? That is really important because sometimes we hear a lot of things over and over and over and over. It is not always a guarantee that we actually remember it. How many times do I use it with my students and with my patients? And I say, well, I've been going to church and I can still not recite the Bible, and that's just one book. So why do I not remember things? Sometimes just because I am not really lined up and aligned with what I need to hear or what I want to hear. But when I am, then all of a sudden I remember it and I can really use it and I can really go forward with it. So I am really excited to share some of the things with you. We are on Win-Win Women TV. My name is Elian Haan. I'm a life coach, wellness coach. I share many things with you that I share with my students and patients in my life coaching practice or in working with people in recovery. And that most of these things are just very important because we are talking today about triggers and thoughts that will throw us off. And I always say as well, life doesn't get any easier. You just get better at it. And if you need to get better at it, then you just need to have a couple of things that you hear over and over again, just to be able to apply those. So today we are talking tricky T's and awesome cool C's. And today's shows is about those T words and those C words in a playful way and how they relate to life. So we talk triggers, we talk thoughts, choices, changes, many more ways to kind of contemplate and what you're doing, what you're thinking yourself, and how you can be playful with words in case that you don't really know where to start. You can remember. You can remember this. So sometimes we have to be a little bit playful, and I like to connect with my inner child. And if I do that with my adult inner child, if I do that, then I can really go back to the things that give me joy, the joy that I want to share with you all the time, the energy that I want to share with you all the time, and the sense of peace that I want to share with you in the transformation that I have been through in my personal life. We see those explosive things, we see those aspects in life, settling it a little bit more. So actually, I did get better at it as well, even if life just keeps coming, right? Because we have those days that are just really difficult. We have sorrow, we have pain, we have illness, daily stress, lots of anxiety, things we worry about, and things that get to us, and even bigger things, grief and loss, and trauma that keeps coming back sometimes. And if we don't recognize it and we don't have those little hooks like those words that I'm going to share with you today, then sometimes we just really don't see a way out. So in life and in recovery and in healing, we do need to move forward. We do need to grow. I always tell everybody, which to me, I remember from the past, it was always such a dirty word if you use the words change. I don't want to change. Or my partner would say, I don't want you to think that I need to change, right? It was just such a dirty word. But if you use the word growth, I always talk about growing in your healing, growing in your knowledge, growing in your expertise, growing in sharing and talking about it, then we will just have a lot more tools and a lot more tricks in our toolbox. And that's what we're talking about today. So let's make a start with some of those really tricky T words, right? One of the big ones is trauma and triggers. Emotional triggers, they're also called sometimes mental triggers, and are just those things, the memories, sometimes events, sometimes happenings, circumstances, people that will spark intense negative emotions. And it all comes back. You have been triggered. It all comes back up. It bubbles back up. Some things that happened in the past, traumatic experiences that you have had, and you just kind of don't know how to climb out of that triggered emotion, right? And these emotions can be all different things for everybody. It kind of spirals. Triggers can spiral you back into self-esteem and negative thinking, and sometimes resentment and procrastination. Uh, a lot of times anger, right, or anxiety, and sometimes we just feel vulnerable, we feel overwhelmed, we feel lonely. Lonely is not good. If we're lonely, we feel fear coming in and we feel isolated, and everything is being triggered. So it's just on and on and on, sometimes even bigger than the emotion that came originally with the trauma or with the pain or with the grief. So when it gets triggered over and over again, that was causes PTSD as well, then it just causes bigger and huge and build up emotions, right? So triggers are big. Triggers and traumas are the things that set us off, and traumas and the triggers regarding that trauma, that old pain will just really completely throw us off. So what happens? We might get timid, or we might have a lot of temperament. So what means is that we are going into isolation, we just kind of withdraw from everything, or we just go into the temperamental stage. There's another T word, that rage, that anger. We just don't know what to do. So we're just really, really angry. And we just don't know where to put that, right? And you feel really inside tumultuous. You feel really turbulent inside. You feel that everything is just moving. And like I talk a lot and I shared a lot with you over the last couple of weeks too, that trauma or that pain always sits in our body as well. So if you're feeling crammed up and if you're feeling you're holding on to so much physically as well, then you feel sometimes a lot of chronic pain and a lot of things that are coming over and over back pain, hip pain, all that stuff that settles in your body, right? So tricky situations will go, triggers will trigger us and will bring trauma back and will bring us into a very turbulent state of mind where we just have to take a time out. And time out is a great word, because time out, if you're thinking about those triggers and the turbulence and the trauma that comes back, then we have to take a time out. If you recognize it, that's step number one, right? That's what I do in my work a lot. I try to make people mindful and aware of what you're physically and emotionally feeling, so that at that moment, if you recognize all those T words, then you can take time out. So time out is important because we have to take a deep breath, walk it off, go around again, step outside again, and just reassess the situation. We have to come back with something new, because what we always did didn't work, right? Because the triggers and the thoughts and the ruminating things were coming back. So take some time out, and then we're going to explore our thoughts or thinking. Are those thoughts real? Is it actually something that has always been with us, but maybe it's not real anymore? Maybe it doesn't work for us anymore. Maybe your thoughts or thinking are just disturbed. Maybe it's very disturbed. Maybe it's very distorted. Maybe it's thinking that we have always done, but it's not really a reality for us now anymore. Or maybe it was something that was instilled by our parents or by friends or by people that we lived with and that we were around with, and all that brought on certain thinking, certain thoughts that might not even be accurate, but you always believed it. So we have to go a little bit back to our thinking and thoughts and try to be a little bit more transparent in our thoughts, in our thinking. Maybe share it and maybe say, well, I want to just kind of see through where that is coming from and where that all started. And if I can find that, then I can kind of redo my thinking a little bit, right? I can have some new thoughts, a lot of things that I didn't know in the past, and a lot of things that comes back in my work all the time is where we were just not aware of the fact that so many things have been implanted, so many things have been implanted in our brains, and we just didn't know if that was actually fair, or if it was actually honest, or if that was actually good for us or healthy for us or not. So that's why sometimes we have to change our thinking and work on that brain. And rewiring the brain is something that I talk a lot about in my shows. It's a lot of rewiring and resetting your thinking to where the outcome is way healthier and way better for you. Because if you can do that, and if you have some of these tools and tips and tricks, here are those T words again, right? Now we're thinking, we are resetting our thoughts with some tools and tips and really big tricks that you can use yourself to reset and rewind and feel better and feel healthier for a better outcome. So let's recap that real quick. So let's say that we have a lot of triggers coming at us, a lot of upsetting thoughts, a lot of things that impairs our thinking, a lot of negativity, a lot that sets off our temperament, that sets off maybe the other side, us being very timid and going inside and inwards, and maybe feeling very fierce or turbulent inside. If that is the case, then we have to, in these tricky situations, we have to take some time out. And time out leads us to resetting our thoughts and our thinking. And we were not aware that we could do that because so many things have been taught, but you can change all that around. Because I use that a lot, right? We were sometimes maybe living in the expectation realm of all our thoughts and all our thinking all being said, all being destined, right? Because we are being expected to go somewhere, or we are being expected for to have success or an amazing life or an amazing family or all that stuff that sometimes just really doesn't fit. And then if something sets us off and something is tricking us, then we are going into that crazy mind. So we have to reset those thoughts. And I'm going to give you today also some of those words that will lead you to a time to thrive. Right? How much fun is that? All those T words can really lead us to a time to thrive, can lead us to thriving overall and some feeling of joy and peace inside, because that's what I always want to share with you. How many times have I been angry? How many times did I feel that the world was getting to me? How many times in my life did I feel that it was not fair? How many times did I feel that I had been done unjust, or I just didn't understand? I didn't understand maybe why I couldn't keep the job. I didn't understand why people would not love me. I didn't understand why I was in certain situations. And it was always somebody else's fault. And so maybe sometimes it was. Maybe sometimes it really was. But I was just not aware of the fact that I had those amazing C words. I had the choices and I had the chances to change things around. And sometimes I wouldn't see that, or sometimes I wouldn't listen. Somebody would give me advice, or sometimes I just didn't realize that yet, that I could change all that for myself. That I was the one who is in charge on stage. I was in charge. I had a chance to choose for another chance, for a bigger outcome. And so I love those C words. I love to play with this because it always gives me, even as a teacher, it gives me this great feel of tools, right? A toolbox. So when I think about it and I want to talk about it and I want to tell somebody something important, and then I just think about these C's or I think about these T's. And I say, oh yes, I know how traumatic it was. I know how turbulent it was. I know how much you have been in that temperamental state of life or in that timid state of life. I understand that. And I want you to give you some of those tools to get out of those tricky situations. The tricky teas and the really calming seas, right? The cool, awesome seas. If you think about it, that you are in charge, how amazing is that? How many times have we not thought about that? How many times, even as women, especially as women, have we devoted all our times to be a great mother or a great spouse or a great person to our friends, a great daughter, a great granddaughter? And we have been taking care of people. We have done everything that was to be expected, that they may be expected, or that we may be expected of ourselves. One of the things that I did so many times in life is I boycotted myself because my expectations were put so high. I wanted so much in such a broad range of quality, all at the same time. I wanted to do it so well. I wanted to be so perfect. And so you lose kind of yourself along the way, and you get those tricky trauma triggers. It's not very healthy situation, and you start feeling sick. We start feeling depressed. We start feeling stress coming up. We start feeling that anxiety on a daily basis. How to get out of this? What do I do? How about tomorrow? How do I solve this? And one of the things that I would love so much to share with you, and that was so big that I learned, is that I am in charge. I am the only actor on my own stage that that writes my own scripts, that hands my own scripts to myself. I am the one that plans and that can plan ahead and that can think ahead and that can have different thoughts and that can change my thoughts so that I can get to a much better place. And so I have that power. I have that power, so I can really change from complicated thinking and being confused, and stressed out and anxious to a challenge, right? A challenge of changing and a challenge choosing to change towards a better outcome. Once you have that challenge, once you have those choices there, then you can kind of start to pick what you feel would be really healthy for yourself. What you feel that is less challenging and easier and more comfortable for you. What situation do you fit in more? And if you don't even know where to start, then go back to a lot of my teachings about all the aspects of life, right? Is it all related to your relationships in your family? Is it all related to communication? What you're facing, the challenges, the complications, these choices, are they all related to family and friends and relationships, or do they have to do with career? Choices in your career, choices in your financial life, choices when it comes to your jobs. Are you always waiting for somebody to knock on your door to give you another opportunity, or are you going to create some of these opportunities? You are the creator. You are the play, right, of your play on your stage. And the more you get a hand in that, the more you know that God already has the outcome, your higher power, whatever you believe in, wherever you are, it is already set out there. But the more you make it very comfortable and very nice for yourself, that you feel that you are getting more to that place where you were destined to be in the first place. That was your purpose. That was the path that you had to take. So you are there, right there. You are right there on that moment of change, on that moment of years maybe of change, because it took me years, right, to apply all these things. So you might be there, you face those challenges a little bit less, right? It gets a little bit easier because you are starting to make different choices. I also think about the word consequences. We do need to know, whatever it is, in our spiritual life, in our family life, in our career life, in our leisure life, in our health and wellness life. All these parts of life, this is all applies to all these parts of the pie, right? If you see that, you also know the consequences. If you are making different choices, what are the consequences of that? Is it good for everybody in your family? Is it good for your relationships? Or have you been in active addiction? Have you been in substance abuse because of so many trauma and so much triggering past that you just have to get out of these relationships? You have to make the choices to change that. You have the choice. You do have the choice. So again, time out, time to check in for self-care. Check in to make that commitment to yourself. Check in to do some things different. Check in to see the outcome, predict the outcome, and see what you can do different, and then what kind of consequences it has. I love to play with all these words. Your choice, your challenge, your change. The fact that you can make a different outcome. Every time. You have to check in. You have to take that time out. So if we don't do that, then we just go on and on and on and on. I am really a great example of doing that. And I got better at it over the last decade. I got a lot better at it. Just rethink, time out, reset. If it's not comfortable for me, if it doesn't feel good, if it's not healthy, if it doesn't give me the outcome that I would love to see, without hurting others, without devastating consequences, can I make change? Can I choose to change some things that I do? Can I choose to make those changes without a lot of implications, right? When I talk with my patients in addiction recovery, for instance, those triggers are huge. A lot of triggers, right? With my war veterans, a lot of triggers, PTSD, a lot of triggers. And everything that makes you feel sad or bad that comes from the past might set you into a mood that is not really healthy for you. And that, of course, has again the physical implications of pain and stiffness and tightness and many other pain issues in your body, issues in your tissues, as we call that. So if you feel that overwhelming stress and anxiety coming onto you, then take the time out and take time to think. Because you have tools in those tricky situations to reset. You have the choices for change. You can choose, right? And it's a challenge sometimes, of course, but one of those wonderful things that always stuck by me, and I love that if it's not a challenge for you, it doesn't change you. Sometimes it has to be a little, sometimes it has to be a little hard. We do not want that. We want everything just to come smooth and easy, and definitely now, as time building your life, you're thinking, oh, I want life to get a little bit easier. And unfortunately, life doesn't get easier, but you are getting better at it. You are getting better at it. You have tools, you have a toolbox full. Things that you can do after taking a time out to think about it. Look at it. What do you got? You have skills. Look back sometimes at the challenges that you have overcome. Look at the things that you're really good at instead of that negative thinking of spiraling you into a really bad self-esteem issue, right? It's really bad in the self-esteem mood. I can't do anything. I'm not able to accomplish this. And then you go into that resentment, or you go into that part where you're going procrastinate. Next Monday, I'm gonna do it. But if you're still not making very, very conscious choices into new commitments, then you cannot change. You have to do the work for it. It's not fun, I admit. We have to do the work for it. Why do I want to be fit? Why do I want to be healthy? It doesn't come just like that. I have to do the work for it. I have to sit. I have to take time out. I have to think. And my thoughts have to be changed sometimes. And when I face those changes, I have to make a commitment to make better choices with a lot of consequences. And is the outcome healthy and good for everybody? Going back to all those little pieces that this applies to, it is your family and it's your relationships. There's another big, 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 big C word. That is communication. Communication. I wasn't so good at it, but I remember, and a lot of people that I meet, a lot of people, sometimes, especially with trauma and with a tricky past, it's very difficult, like I talked about the last couple of shows, to express our feelings, to express our emotions. It's difficult for us to talk sometimes about pain and grief. I remember that because I find that very difficult. My physical symptoms is that my throat just kind of shuts down, right? It locks up, and I feel that flushing feeling of my stomach in my throat, nauseated feeling of not being able to get it out. I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. So many symptoms. So we have to communicate in our relationships with our family and friends. We have to learn to communicate the new choices with these chances that we have, right? The new choices that we make towards a different change, towards a different outcome, towards change. And the communication is also important in career and jobs. Where's your purpose? What is your why? What are you doing here to get up every morning for? And what makes you so excited to get up? That's a tough one. It's not what are you doing, it's why are you doing it? That's a tough one. It's a really great W thing there, right? Not what are you doing, but why are you doing it? That's a great one too. So that has to do with career. It has to do with your finances. Where do you want to be in life? It has to do with, like I said, your health, your wellness, and your spiritual time. What do you want? And what is the outcome? And the outcome needs to be kind of even in all those little fields, because otherwise the wheel of life is going to be out of balance, and you're going to go ka-dung, ka-dung, ka-dung. You're going to go off the road again, and you're just going to fall over, and you're going to be tripped and triggered into tricky situations. And that's what we want to just get out of the way. It's not forever, and it's not always that stays with you, that you can be so good at it. But like I said, you get better at it. So let's make that commitment. And I would love for you to give me some feedback on all these wonderful words and all that. It helps me to play with these words. Because as I do it more, and if I do it long enough, and if I teach it, then it becomes me. And if it becomes me, then I do something with it. And then I am more aware, and I'm more in that aware mindset of something that I can do for myself, something that is healthy. I want to leave you today with a beautiful saying of the famous poet Rumi, who says, "If you are seeking, seek us with joy, for we live in the kingdom of joy. Do not give your heart to anything else but the love of those who are clear joy. Do not stray into the neighborhood of despair, for there are hopes, they're real, and they exist. Do not go into the direction of darkness, because I tell you, the sun exists." I love that poem so much because that makes me think of my own message of joy. What I want to share with you. I am very easy to find all over social media and YouTube, on Win-Win Women TV, with amazing colleagues, amazing speakers, amazing women that I always love to reach out myself to, because we all have so much to offer. And just because maybe we learned, or maybe we got it the hard way, or maybe I don't know anything yet, but I just love to talk. But I love to share with you. Sharing is caring. And you can find me best way on my website, www.elianhaan.com. www.elianhaan.com. And you can read a lot about my social media. You can find me there. Click on all these buttons. Find me on YouTube. And please react, and please come back, and please let me know what you need or what you think. All of that. I'm easy to find. and I love to help you. So let me know, and I see you hopefully next week on Win-Win Women TV and on Allianz Joy. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm so excited you were here. I love to do what I do. I do what I love, and I will see you next time. Namaste.